The stars shone like scattered diamonds in the void. Humanity had searched them for centuries, hoping to find friends among the celestial lights. Dr. Alan Foster stood at the observation window of Europa Station, watching Jupiter's massive form dominate the view. The research outpost, built to study the icy moon's subsurface ocean, had become his home for the past 3 years. "Alan, you should see this," called Dr. Susan Rivera, her voice tense over the comm system. Foster hurried to the command center where Rivera and 5 other scientists stared at the main screen. "What is it?" "Unknown object approaching from Sector 7, she said, pointing to a blip on the radar. "It's big and moving fast." Chief of Security Kyle Bennett frowned. "Not one of ours. I've checked with Mission Control. Nothing scheduled to arrive for another month." The object changed course, now heading directly toward the station. Foster felt a chill run down his spine. "Try hailing it." Communications Officer Peter Wells nodded, fingers dancing across his console, broadcasting on all frequencies. No response. The object grew closer, resolving into a shape unlike any spacecraft humans had designed. It was angular, almost crystalline, with sections that seemed to shift and reconfigure as they watched. "What the hell is that?" whispered Bennett. "I think," Foster swallowed hard, barely able to form the words. "I think we're looking at proof we're not alone." The alien vessel stopped 3 kilometers from the station. For several minutes, nothing happened. The team watched in silence, fear and wonder battling for dominance. Then the ship began to glow. "Energy spike," shouted Rivera, checking her instruments. "Massive power buildup." Foster lunged for the communications array. "This is Europa Research Station to approaching vessel. We are a peaceful scientific installation. Please respond." The alien craft's surface rippled, sections realigning to form what looked disturbingly like weapon ports. "Evacuate. Everyone to the escape pods," Foster shouted, hitting the station-wide alarm. As the siren wailed, he opened an emergency channel to Earth. "Europa Station to Earth Command. Unknown craft of non-human design in Jupiter orbit. Weapons charging. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is first contact, and they appear hostile." The transmission lagged as it traveled the vast distance to Earth. Foster continued recording as his team scrambled for the escape pods. They gave no warning, no attempt at communication. God help us. A brilliant beam of energy erupted from the alien vessel, slicing through the station's main hub. Explosive decompression tore through corridors. Foster was thrown against a wall as the air rushed past him. With the last of his strength, he pulled himself into a nearby escape pod and hit the launch button. The pod ejected just as a second energy beam turned the research station into expanding debris. 3 hours later, the fragmented transmission reached Earth. In the United Nations Emergency Council chamber, Defense Secretary Olivia Wright stood before representatives from every nation, her face grim as she played Foster's final message. When the recording ended, she looked up at the stunned faces. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, her voice steady despite the weight of her words, "we are not alone in the universe, and our neighbors are not friendly." Within hours, former enemies became allies. Nations that had fought for centuries now united against a common threat lurking beyond the outer planets. Intelligence gathered from surviving data packets suggested the attackers were conducting reconnaissance, testing Earth's capabilities. Captain Lisa Reynolds stared at the tactical display aboard the hastily commissioned UES Sentinel, Earth's first true warship. The alien fleet's projected path glowed ominously on her screen. "They think we're weak," she said to Commander Jack Harris, who stood at her side. "They have no idea what they've awakened." Humanity had always wondered if it was alone in the cosmos. Now they had their answer, and nothing would ever be the same. 5 years passed since the day humanity learned they were not alone in the universe. Earth had changed in ways no one could have imagined before the attack on Europa Station. Nations once locked in bitter rivalry now worked side by side under the banner of the Unified Earth Defense Initiative. Dr. Nathan Collins walked through the underground laboratory complex buried deep beneath the Nevada desert. Scientists from 47 countries worked in this facility, reverse engineering the technology salvaged from debris of the alien ship destroyed during their second probing attack near Mars. Their power systems are unlike anything we've theorized, Collins explained to Admiral Jane Wilson, who had come to inspect their progress. They don't use nuclear fusion like we predicted advanced civilizations would. They manipulate quantum fields directly. Admiral Wilson nodded, her gray eyes taking in the strange components spread across the workbenches. And you can replicate this. Better, Collins smiled. We can improve it. Humans have always been good at taking someone else's invention and making it more efficient. Elsewhere, beneath the Rocky Mountains, General William Peters surveyed the massive antimatter production facility that had been constructed in record time. Engineers and technicians moved with purpose through the cavernous space, preparing Earth's most powerful weapon. How soon until the fleet is equipped? Peters asked, watching as specialized containers were loaded onto transport vehicles. Chief Engineer Samantha Nelson checked her tablet. 3 months for full deployment, sir. The shield generators are already operational around all major cities. The orbital platforms will be online even sooner. Peters nodded with grim satisfaction. Their first attack was a test. The next will be an invasion. We'll be ready, Nelson said firmly. In space, humanity's preparations were even more impressive. The moon, once a symbol of mankind's first tentative steps beyond Earth, had become a fortress. The largest space station ever built orbited the lunar surface, serving as humanity's forward operating base. Colonel Daniel Morgan walked along the observation deck, watching as construction drones swarmed around massive warships. New recruits followed him, their eyes wide at the scale of the operation. 5 years ago, these ships would have been considered science fiction. Morgan told them. Now they're our reality. Every vessel you see carries weapon systems more advanced than anything we had before first contact. A young lieutenant raised her hand. Sir, what do we know about the aliens? Why did they attack us without provocation? We call them the Vestari, after the constellation their ships first approached from, Morgan answered. As for why they attacked, intelligence suggests they're expansionists. They claim territories by force. Our existence wasn't even a consideration for them. Beyond the window, a newly completed destroyer moved into formation with the fleet. Its sleek hull gleamed in the sunlight, hiding weapon systems that could level mountains. Are we really ready to face them? Asked another recruit. They must have been spacefaring for centuries longer than us. Morgan smiled, but there was no humor in it. They have experience, yes, but they've never faced humans before. We've spent our entire history fighting each other, perfecting the art of war. When they attacked us, they awakened something they don't understand. He gestured to the ships forming up beyond the station. We're not just preparing to survive their next attack. We're preparing to win. In laboratories, factories, and training facilities across Earth and throughout the solar system, humanity worked with single-minded purpose. The message was clear. Whoever these Vestari were, they had made a terrible mistake. The species they had dismissed as primitive had spent 5 years transforming itself into a unified fighting force, unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. And soon, very soon, the Vestari would discover just how costly their error had been. The long-range sensors detected them first, a fleet of Vestari ships, larger than anything humanity had faced before, moving through the outer solar system. The alert spread quickly through Earth's defense network. Admiral Grace Martinez stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, humanity's largest battleship. At 52, her dark hair now streaked with gray, she had been chosen to lead Earth's unified fleet. The responsibility weighed heavily, but her posture betrayed none of that burden. How many? She asked, eyes fixed on the tactical display. 87 vessels, Admiral, reported Lieutenant Eric Johnson from his sensor station. Configuration matches what we've seen before, but they've brought capital ships this time. Their lead vessel is enormous. Martinez nodded. The intelligence had been correct. This wasn't a probe or a test. This was the real invasion. All ships report ready status, said Commander Fiona Kelly, Martinez's second in command. Defense platforms are online. Planetary shields at full capacity. Martinez took a deep breath. It's time to send our message. Open a channel on all frequencies. Channel open. Admiral. Translation matrix is functioning and ready. Martinez straightened her uniform and faced the communication screen. To the Vesteri Collective. Your unprovoked attack on our research station was your first mistake. Assuming we would be easy prey was your second. We have studied your technology, improved upon it, and prepared our response. Turn back now. This is your only warning. Humanity is ready and waiting. She nodded to the communications officer. Attach the technical package. With a few keystrokes, the officer transmitted carefully selected data about Earth's defensive capabilities. The information was deliberately incomplete but impressive enough to demonstrate that humanity was not the primitive species the Vesteri had first encountered. Message sent. Admiral. The bridge fell silent as they waited for a response. Minutes stretched into an hour. Do you think they'll listen? Asked Lieutenant Johnson quietly. Admiral Martinez's expression remained stone cold. No, but we needed to give them the chance. What happens next is on them. Another hour passed before the sensors detected movement. The alien fleet had changed course, bypassing Earth's main defensive line. They're heading toward Mars, reported Johnson. Our colony there has 5,000 civilians, plus the defense garrison. Martinez nodded. They're testing us again. Looking for a weak point. She opened a channel to the Mars colony. Colonel Rodriguez, you have incoming. The main Vesteri fleet is approaching your position. Colonel Maria Rodriguez's voice came through clear despite the distance. We're ready? Admiral. They'll find no weakness here. Martinez turned to her tactical officer. Deploy the fleet. Protection pattern Omega. I want our ship's position to respond to any move they make. Throughout the solar system, humanity's warships moved into defensive formations. On Earth, civilians entered the massive underground shelters built during the 5 years of preparation. Defense batteries emerged from hidden installations on the Moon, Mars, and several larger asteroids. Admiral, said Commander Kelly, we're receiving a transmission from the Vesteri fleet. The main screen flickered to life, showing what humans now knew to be a Vesteri commander. Its exoskeleton gleamed under the lights of its ship, 6 limbs arranged in what humans had learned was a posture of dominance. The translation came through the ship's speakers. You occupy territory claimed by the Vesteri Collective. Your defiance is noted but futile. Surrender your system, and your species may survive as subjects. Martinez didn't hesitate. We decline your generous offer. This system belongs to humanity. Your options are simple. Leave in peace or face the consequences. The Vesteri commander made a gesture that the translation matrix interpreted as dismissive. Then we will begin with your outpost on the Red World. Its destruction will demonstrate the price of defiance. The transmission ended abruptly. Martinez's eyes narrowed. All ships, battle stations. This is not a drill. The Vesteri have made their choice. The battle for Mars was about to begin. The Vesteri ships moved with practiced precision toward Mars. Their formation suggested they had conquered many worlds before. They expected an easy victory, a simple demonstration of power to break humanity's will. They were wrong. Colonel Maria Rodriguez stood in the underground command center of Olympus City, the largest human settlement on Mars. At 38, she had spent half her life in military service. The last 5 years had been dedicated to turning the Red Planet into a fortress. They're entering orbit, reported Major Paul Chen, her tactical officer. Scanners detect landing craft preparing to deploy. Rodriguez nodded calmly. Let them come. Activate defensive grid alpha. Across the Martian surface, hidden installations powered up. What the Vesteri saw as an exposed, vulnerable colony was actually bait in an elaborate trap. The first wave of alien dropships descended through the thin Martian atmosphere, heading for the apparent weakness of Olympus City's central dome. As they reached 5 kilometers above the surface, hundreds of concealed defense turrets emerged from the rusty soil. "Electromagnetic pulse weapons online," reported Lieutenant Kevin Walsh. "Targeting solutions locked." "Fire," ordered Rodriguez. Brilliant blue energy erupted from the defense grid. The pulses washed over the alien craft, disabling their systems. Dozens of dropships fell from the sky, crashing into the Martian desert. "Direct hits on 60% of first-wave targets," Walsh reported. "Remaining ships are adjusting trajectory and deploying countermeasures." Rodriguez had expected this. They're adapting. Switching to secondary protocols. Launch fighters. From hidden hangars carved into Martian canyons, Earth's first space-to-space fighters emerge. Sleek vessels incorporating modified Vesteri technology. Each carried a pilot who had trained relentlessly for this moment. Captain Ryan Mitchell led Phoenix Squadron through the chaos above Mars. "All wings report in," he ordered, pushing his fighter toward the second wave of descending alien craft. "They're trying to establish a ground force near Valles Marineris," his wingman, Lieutenant Samantha Reed, reported. 6 heavy transports with fighter escort. "Phoenix Squadron, form up on me," Mitchell commanded. "We'll hit them before they reach ground." The human fighters moved with a speed and agility that clearly surprised the Vesteri. Mitchell's squadron tore through the alien formation, quantum-tipped missiles finding their targets with devastating accuracy. "They're retreating from the surface," Mitchell reported back to command, regrouping around Phobos. In orbit, the main Vesteri fleet faced resistance they hadn't anticipated. Mars-based railguns fired magnetically accelerated projectiles at incredible speeds, penetrating alien shields designed to stop energy weapons. The Vesteri commander redirected forces, attempting to overwhelm a section of the defense grid. Rodriguez had planned for this too. "They're concentrating on Sector 7, she told her team. "Activate the mines." Thousands of stealth mines, placed in Martian orbit months earlier, suddenly activated. The Vesteri ships found themselves in a lethal field of explosions. The battle raged for 27 hours. When it finally ended, the Martian sky was littered with the burning remnants of Vesteri ships. Their forces had been decimated, with only a single vessel escaping the trap. "Let it go," ordered Admiral Martinez from her command position in Earth orbit. "Let them see what happens when they underestimate us." Colonel Rodriguez walked through a medical bay where injured defenders received treatment. Despite the victory, there had been losses. 43 dead, over 100 wounded. "Was it worth it?" asked Major Chen quietly as he joined her. Rodriguez looked out a viewport where the wreckage of alien ships still burned in the sky. "We've shown them we won't be conquered easily. That humanity fights back. Yes, it was worth it." In deep space, the surviving Vesteri ship limped back toward its fleet, carrying news of an unexpected defeat. For the first time, the aliens faced a species that refused to submit, that had prepared for their tactics, and that fought with unexpected ferocity. The battle for Mars was over. But the war for humanity's survival had only begun. Dr. Laura Wilson stood before the United Nations Security Council, her presentation slides showing strange symbols and patterns. At 43, she had spent her career studying theoretical models of alien communication. Now her work had become humanity's most important project. The Vesteri attack pattern suggests they're accustomed to species surrendering after a show of force, she explained, pointing to a chart showing data from both Europa and Mars incidents. Their tactics indicate surprise when met with effective resistance. General William Peters frowned from his seat at the table. "You're suggesting we try to talk to them, after what they did to Europa, to the Mars colony?" Wilson shook her head. "I'm suggesting we try to understand them. Knowledge is as powerful a weapon as any antimatter cannon. If we know why they attack, we may find a better way to defend ourselves than just fighting." Defense Secretary Olivia Wright looked thoughtful. "What do you propose, Doctor?" "A diplomatic mission," Wilson replied. "A chance to communicate directly, to learn more about who we're dealing with. The Mars survivor accounts indicate the Vesteri use translation technology. They can understand us." The room erupted in argument. Half the council supported continuing the military response alone. The other half saw wisdom in Wilson's proposal. President Karen Miller raised her hand for silence. "We will pursue both paths. Our military preparations will continue at full speed. But Dr. Wilson will also prepare a diplomatic vessel. Information is indeed a weapon, and we need every advantage." 3 weeks later, the UES emissary prepared for launch from lunar orbit. The ship was smaller than Earth's warships, but incorporated the most advanced defensive systems available. Its primary mission was communication, not combat. Captain Henry Warren walked through his vessel's bridge, checking systems one final time. His crew of 20 included linguistics experts, xenobiologists, and cultural anthropologists, along with a small security team. "All systems green, Captain," reported his first officer, Lieutenant Diane Hall. "We're cleared for departure." Warren nodded and took his seat. "Set course for the coordinates provided by long-range tracking. The Vesteri fleet has established a position beyond Neptune's orbit. That's where we'll meet them." The journey took 11 days. As they approached the meeting point, the crew grew tense. No one knew if the Vesteri would honor the request for diplomatic talks or simply destroy the emissary. "We're being scanned," reported the sensor officer as they reached the designated coordinates. "Multiple Vesteri vessels surrounding our position." Warren straightened his uniform. "Broadcast our message on the frequencies we know they monitor. Make it clear we come to talk, not fight." Minutes passed in tense silence. Then, "Captain, we're receiving a response. They're inviting us to approach their command vessel." Warren raised an eyebrow. "Well, that's progress. Proceed at quarter speed. Keep shields at maximum." The emissary moved carefully toward the massive alien ship. A docking tube extended from the Vesteri vessel, connecting with the human ship's airlock. "They're matching our atmosphere," noted Dr. Wilson, who had insisted on joining the mission. "They've studied our biology." Warren selected his boarding party: himself, Wilson, Security Chief Lieutenant Frank Cooper, and xenobiologist Dr. Emily Grant. "Remember, we are here to listen and learn first. Speak only when addressed directly." The Vesteri representatives awaited them in a chamber designed to accommodate both species. 6-limbed beings with iridescent exoskeletons stood or sat on raised platforms. Their bodies shimmered with colors that seemed to shift in patterns that might be a form of communication. A device in the center of the room hummed to life. "You have requested this exchange," came a translated voice. "This is unprecedented. No species has ever resisted initial subjugation." Captain Warren maintained perfect composure. "Humans are unlike other species you have encountered." The lead Vesteri moved closer, its limbs creating patterns that the translation device interpreted. "Your species was classified as pre-space, primitive, submissive. This assessment appears incorrect." "Very incorrect," Wilson said quietly. "We were exploring space before your first attack. We prefer peaceful contact, but we defend ourselves when threatened." "Explain your rapid advancement," demanded another Vesteri. "Your weapons are partially based on our technology, yet modified beyond our current applications." Warren exchanged glances with Wilson. This confirmed what they had suspected. Humanity's ability to innovate had surprised the aliens. "Adaptation is what humans do best," Warren replied. "We are a young species, but we learn quickly. We prefer peace, but we have prepared for war. The choice is yours." The diplomatic meeting continued for 3 days. Each session revealed crucial information about the Vesteri and the wider galactic community. Dr. Laura Wilson carefully documented every exchange, finding patterns in the aliens' responses. "They're not a unified empire," she explained to Captain Warren during a private briefing in the emissary's conference room. The Vestari are one faction in a complex interstellar political landscape. Their aggression toward Earth is partly driven by competition. Warren frowned. Competition for what? Resources, territory, and something they call claim rights. Wilson said, apparently, the first species to establish control over a solar system gains recognition from other civilizations. They're rushing to claim our system before rival alien confederations can establish contact with us. This information changed everything. When the emissary returned to Earth, an emergency meeting of the Security Council was called. Admiral Martinez studied the report, her expression thoughtful. So they attacked us because they're in a land grab with other alien factions. We're just property to be claimed. Essentially, Wilson confirmed. But there's more. Their society values displays of strength. They expected us to surrender after the first show of force. Our resistance confuses them. President Miller leaned forward. Can we use this knowledge? I believe we can, said Secretary Wright. If they respect strength, then we need to show them our full resolve. After hours of debate, a plan was formed. Humanity would deliver an ultimatum through both diplomatic and military channels. Earth and its solar system were sovereign territory, non-negotiable. Any further aggression would be met with total war. 3 days later, Admiral Martinez stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance. Her ship and a small escort fleet had taken position just outside the Vestari fleet's sensor range. All systems ready, Admiral, reported Commander Kelly. Jump coordinates locked. Antimatter warhead armed and stable. Martinez nodded. Begin the countdown. Transmit the diplomatic message. Throughout the solar system, all human communications arrays simultaneously broadcast a message to the Vestari fleet. The statement was clear. Earth recognized the Vestari as one of many galactic powers, but would not submit to any claim on human territory. The choice was simple: respect humanity's borders or face consequences. As the message was transmitted, Martinez gave the order. Execute jump. The Defiance performed a maneuver no Vestari ship could match, a precision near-light-speed micro-jump. The massive human battleship appeared suddenly within the alien formation, directly alongside the Vestari command ship. The alien vessel was enormous, 3 times the size of the Defiance. Target locked, reported the weapons officer. Warhead ready. Fire, ordered Martinez. A single antimatter missile launched from the Defiance, striking the Vestari command ship's central section. The human vessel immediately executed a second jump, disappearing before the aliens could respond. The Vestari command ship, their largest and most powerful vessel, was consumed in a blinding flash as matter and antimatter annihilated each other. When the energy dissipated, nothing remained but scattered particles. The Defiance reappeared near Earth, rejoining the defensive fleet. Transmission coming in from the Vestari, reported the communications officer. There, requesting clarification of our terms. Martinez allowed herself a small smile. Send them this. Consider that our final warning. We know where your homeworlds are. We know your vulnerabilities. We don't want war, but we will end one if forced. In the Security Council chamber, the representatives watched the sensor feeds showing the remaining Vestari ships changing formation. For several tense hours, no one knew if the aliens would launch a full-scale attack in retaliation. Then, slowly, the Vestari fleet began to move away from Earth, retreating beyond Neptune's orbit. They're withdrawing, announced Secretary Wright, relief evident in her voice. President Miller shook her head slightly. For now. But this isn't over. No, agreed General Peters. But we've shown them something important. Humans don't make good victims. The ultimatum had worked. Humanity had earned itself time and respect in a dangerous galaxy. 1 year passed since humanity delivered its ultimatum to the Vestari. Dr. Alan Foster walked slowly into the United Nations chamber, still using a cane after his long recovery. As the lone survivor from the Europa attack, rescued from an escape pod 6 months after the initial assault, he carried both physical and emotional scars. The newly formed Interstellar Relations Committee waited for his report. Representatives from every nation on Earth sat around the large circular table, their faces showing the mix of hope and concern that had become common in the post-contact world. Foster cleared his throat. The Vestari have withdrawn beyond the Kuiper Belt, he began, his voice steady despite his physical weakness. Our long-range probes confirm they've established a permanent boundary marker acknowledging our territorial claim to the entire solar system. Secretary Olivia Wright nodded, her once black hair now streaked with gray after years of crisis management. And the other alien civilizations they mentioned during the diplomatic mission. 3 have sent envoys requesting formal diplomatic relations, Foster replied, touching the control that displayed images of unusual ships now orbiting Earth's L5 point under heavy guard. They seem impressed by our response to the Vestari, perhaps even slightly afraid. Captain Lisa Reynolds, recently promoted after her successful command during the Mars defense, smiled faintly from her seat near the military advisors. Good. Fear keeps the peace sometimes. So does respect, Dr. Laura Wilson countered from across the table. The Centauri delegation specifically mentioned humanity's unexpected complexity during initial talks. They were surprised by our capacity for both uncompromising defense and genuine diplomacy. President Karen Miller studied the reports before her. Earth had changed dramatically in just 6 years. Technologies reverse-engineered from Vestari systems had revolutionized everything from medicine to transportation. The Unified Defense Initiative had created new industries and unprecedented cooperation between former enemies. What do these new civilizations want from us? She asked. Trade, primarily, replied Foster. The Centauri are interested in our art and entertainment. Apparently, our creativity is unusual among spacefaring species. The Noraxians want access to our biological diversity for scientific study. The third group, the Vendari Collective, seems most interested in forming a mutual defense agreement against the Vestari, asked General Peters. Among others, Foster nodded. The galaxy is not a peaceful place. Most advanced civilizations maintain their territories through strength or alliances. President Miller stood, moving to the large window overlooking New York City. The skyline had changed, with shield generators now visible atop major buildings and defense platforms floating high above. Humanity stands at a crossroads, she said finally. We've proven ourselves capable of defending our home. Now we must prove ourselves worthy of joining the galactic community. She turned back to the committee. We will approach with open hands, but also with vigilant eyes and ready weapons. Later that day, Dr. Foster stood on the observation deck of Earth Orbital Station 1, watching as a small diplomatic vessel prepared to depart for the first official mission to Centauri space. The ship would carry representatives from Earth, along with samples of human culture, art, and knowledge. Captain Henry Warren joined him, now commanding the diplomatic fleet. Nervous, he asked. Terrified, Foster admitted, but also hopeful. We're going to see things no human has ever seen before. And they'll see us, Warren added. The real us, not just our weapons. Beyond Earth's atmosphere, the combined fleet of Earth's defenders maintained their vigilant watch. New ships joined them each month, incorporating technologies that humans had not only copied but improved upon. The orbital defense grid now extended from Mercury to the edges of the solar system, a clear message to any who approached. Humanity's warning to the stars was unambiguous. We come in peace, but we're ready for war. The choice is yours. As the diplomatic vessel activated its engines and began its journey to the stars, Foster watched Earth growing smaller below. The blue planet seemed both vulnerable and precious from this distance, worth any price to protect. Humanity had survived its first contact with a hostile universe. Now came the harder part, finding their place in a galaxy filled with both threats and opportunities. Whatever came next, they would face it together, no longer alone in the darkness between the stars.